how can you, get coaches who maybe have some more antiquated ideas or aren't in alignment there more in alignment?
Obviously, Brad and I are on a crusade, a mission, you know, to uh, to help coaches because coaches will live better lives with more rest and shorter practices. And once the base of a coach's pyramid is rest, recovery, sleep, nutrition, hydration, he's going to become a better coach. So those packets that we see that are just absolutely, they're a joke. It's almost like I feel like I'm being punked when I read it. And then there's some conditioning test. There's a start of the season, where if you don't pass it, you got to wake up at 5 in the morning. And it's almost like they're trying to run you out of the Marines or something. Like you have to do it every morning until you pass it, and you have no chance and all that kind of stuff. But I go back to Brian Kula. Brian Kula is the trainer. He used to be the track coach of McCaffrey, and he'd been the trainer. He'd known McCaffrey, worked with McCaffrey for 15, 20 years, whatever. And and basically, they do no endurance work, none. However, they get quote unquote, unquote in shape by stacking anaerobic work on top of each other. They will do 5 minutes of extreme intensity. It may be sprinting, it may be jumping, it may be squatting, whatever, um, followed by enough recovery to be extreme again, followed by enough recovery to be extreme again. And so they're stacking this anaerobic stuff. And it goes against everything S&C people have learned in the textbook, that you have to develop a huge aerobic engine in order to recover from anaerobic work. And we're saying, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that because you can get that aerobic effect by doing anaerobic work. And and so I asked Brian, I'll never forget this. I'll say, has Christian ever had to do one of those stupid conditioning tests? He said, yeah, with the Panthers, I think they had to do like 16 110s. I said, well, was there hell to pay? Did he fall apart? And he said, no, he won it. And so you would think that in order to condition for the 16 110s, you would almost have to train like 30 minutes of stadium stairs, a 4 mile run, like doing all this aerobic type crap that I still think makes you slower. No, it does make you slower, or at least lowers your ceiling. And and what they said is, to hell with that conditioning test. We're going to work to become the fastest, best football player we can be. And by God, good athletes pass tests.
Yeah, I mean, I would piggyback off of that and say that when we used to do that kind of stuff, our best athletes would win just because they had a higher speed ceiling. And so if an athlete could run 22 mile an hour, they would win the conditioning too because they could do it at 19, and they would still be in the lead. Whereas a guy that ran 18 is running 15. I mean, football is one of the only sports out there, college football, where literally every year someone dies because of one of these tests, and it doesn't matter, what someone did before or after, whether they did in the summer or if it happened, and they're going to give them these tests, and for what? I mean, really, in my opinion, the only reason for the test is to see who has it and who doesn't. But you already know that information anyway, in my opinion. All it does is prove that you've got dudes that are willing to do whatever, whatever. I can't really repeat exactly what Kurt Hester says. Essentially, 98% of your team is tough. The other 2% are mentally blank, 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 blank. You can get one of those percents to hop on board. The other percent, get rid of them, kind of deal. And I feel like those tests are for that 1% that isn't going to jump on board anyway. And you already knew that before you ran the test. And in my opinion, if the dude can go out and jump, and he's 6'4" and he can go get a ball in the end zone when it's time and crunch time, do you really care what he got on his 16 110 test? But I feel like it's just a rite of passage at that level. And Kier Wyndham Flat has kind of created that tribe test, or I don't know if he's still calling it that now, but there are some other options out there to kind of prove whether kids are, or whatever you think, if you need it. Sometimes being an S&C is about giving the coach a little bit, if you're not the head coach, to make them think. A lot of head coaches want to know that the workout sucked. So sometimes you have to create a little something that says, hey, yeah, we did this today. Oh, yeah. Did that kill them? Yeah, they were, oh, man, that's great, And so sometimes you got to, and he comes up with that tribe test, which is, I think, 6:25, you go 25 down and there's a change of direction component and you're trying to get to a certain, and it's based upon the work rest ratio of football. And so there are other things out there, but in no point are we ever going to run 110 yards on a football field and do it 16 times. And like I said, so for me, and right or wrong, but I'm about it for the kid, and I'm training a college kid that has the same workout plan. He's going to do probably some of it. I'm going to talk him out of doing a bunch of it, and we're going to get fast. And when I time him every week, and if he's not getting faster, and I say, what's going on? He's like, well, I did this, and this. And I say, well, how about next week we try not to do that? Don't do those two things and see what happens. And then when they start getting faster and they feel better, and Tony said it a bunch of times, your max speed or max velocity is a barometer of your health. And I think that's 100%. So if the kids are slow, then in my opinion, their CNS is not recovered. They're beat up and they're not very healthy.
I don't know if I told you this, Brad, but about a month ago, it was right before Saquon Barkley signed his contract with the Eagles, that Saquon called me, and I tried to act, like, oh, this is normal. And of course, that's not normal for an NFL star to call me. But he said, Coach, I've been following your stuff, and I wanted to ask you, like, if there's something I could add to my work that would make me faster. I feel like I'm losing the step. And I said, well, you're going to hate my answer because I don't have anything for you to add. I'm going to say you need to subtract some stuff. And he thought about it, and he said, so like in a workout where I'm doing 2 sets of 10 100s, maybe I should just do 1 set of 5. And I said, no, you should do no 100s. And he goes, and this is classic. Saquon Barkley says to me, he says, Coach, I feel like I've been brainwashed. And I said, that's okay. We all have. We all have. That the harder we work, the more luck we have and all that stuff. But, I don't see any reason for football players to run hundreds.
I think the other great story on that is Rob Gronkowski during COVID. Brought 10 different shirts on one day to video himself doing whatever the Buccaneers wanted him to do for his conditioning, so that whenever that day came, he could just send a video, and it was all done on the same day. It was 1 rep in a different color shirt, because that was the value he put on that conditioning as, if not the best, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. And obviously no one ever said, man, Rob Gronkowski is out of shape. He knew what made him be successful, and it definitely wasn't that, And so where I come from with those things, I always say, your players that are slow, I mean, you might kill them, literally kill them. The guys that were fast are going to do just enough to survive it and be out in front, but they're not getting any better when you do that stuff. So it's really a waste of time. And it's why someone has a 4-hour summer workout instead of an hour and a half or an hour, because they think they have to fit in all this conditioning instead of get them in, sprint them, be fast, get a good quick lift in, get them home, keep them fresh, keep them healthy. And that's our goal of the summer, literally to try to take as little time as we can from the athletes. So for me, when fall rolls around, it's not, man, I feel like we've been doing football all summer, right? No, it's like, man, I am so ready for football. It feels like it's been 2 years since we last put the pads on. And that's what I want our guys to feel like.